Stop the cap.
Don't forget to pick up my new book. It's on Amazon. The link is in the description box. Yeah, no, I haven't been uploading any videos. I don't know. I got videos I make, and I don't upload them because I get tired of the topic. I get, some days it feels like, people just don't get it. I see a lot of the same tired circular arguments. I spent 2 years writing a book, and many of the answers are in the book. And, I see and hear black women coming to the internet saying the same tired, outdated talking points that they love so much because they think it protects black women's identity. And I don't know. I think it's just across the board, whether the women are young or whether the women are old. Like, I kind of expect that from the older women, right? Because they haven't updated their shit. They're still making 1990s talking points. But when it comes to the younger black women, I can tell that they're just talking through hearsay and they haven't looked up the numbers themselves. So somebody wanted me to look at what's her name? What is her name? I am Taylor Chandler. I actually sub to her I follow her on IG. And there's a few black women I follow on IG who, people will argue that they're more pro male, but they do push back and challenge a lot of the things that the women say, and a lot of black women get on their bumper. They don't like it. Previously, she had a woman. What's this woman's name? She had Dr. Tressie, who basically, was on some, oh, you're fat shaming black women. And, she went up there. And Dr. Tracy, I mean, looking at pictures of her in the past, you can see that she was a heavier set, dark skinned woman. And so, in academia and listening to Dr. T. Hassan Johnson and listening to Dr. Curry, I'm like, yeah, I already know how this goes. Feminist ideology. The problem is the biggest problem in the black community is the patriarchy and, bell hooks ideology and all this other shit that they'll come with, right? So I wasn't surprised. And when she made she was at the airport and she was making a response to Taylor, and it was just a bunch of babbling. It's a bunch of emotional shit. She wrote the book Thick, which was basically, looking at one of the negative reviews, and I think the negative review is what's more important. Basically, it was just like a woe is the black woman type of book. Woe is the black woman. We're black and we're female, and the universe is oppressing us, and I'm a dark skinned, heavy set black woman, and colorism, and not being taken seriously because of racism and academia, and so like that's what like the book was on, right? And so this video was a follow up because apparently the video that she did about that Taylor did about, is it Taylor? Let me see. It is I am Taylor Chandler. Yeah. Anyway, so she's doing an interview with this other woman named Vernique Esther, if I'm not mistaken. And I guess Vernique is, if I'm saying her name right, I guess she's a social worker. And then she, came on, talked about all her, degrees and accolades and what she was in charge of and all the things that she did and whatnot, which I shouldn't say this because I do kind of get slightly irritated with black women who engage in, It's like, oh, well, what do you do for your job? Oh, I organize. I'm an organizer. I delegate responsibilities to other people. But it's like what is your actual skill set? And the problem I have with these women that claim a skill set, like they went to school, they passed a couple classes, sociology classes, shit like that, and but they don't really know anything like on the ground. Like they don't really know anything. There's no real expertise there. They haven't done their own research. They just kind of run around and it's just basically hearsay. Oh, but I read this book from Bell Hooks, or oh, I read this book, from Ralph Banks, and therefore, and I'm an articulate black woman that, usually comes from the inner city, has low self-esteem in other areas of her personality, and then like dumped all of her energy into education. And so like that gives her the importance that she's never had. You know what I mean? I'm not saying that specifically about this woman. I'm just saying that I find that to be a very common archetype with black women that ain't the sexiest, baddest bitches in the world. And I'm not saying that there's anything that is particularly wrong with the way that she looks. I'm just talking about the type. And this reminds me of a video where there was a black woman who she made a video where she was talking about, how, if a black woman's going to go to college, like go to college and go major in something that's going to actually allow you to pay back your student loans. Stop going to get a degree just so that you can run around and say, I got a piece of paper and then I'm a strong, educated, black woman, because, the amount of debt that you're going to take on is astronomical, and you need to make sure that your career is something that you can actually pay back that debt. I remember when the woman, made that video. But there's a certain, I've experienced it enough. There's a certain tone. There's a certain, I don't know. It's like the mommying. It's like the I know better, and then it's like, yeah, that's cool. Like there's something to be said about black women who come from modest backgrounds, humble beginnings. They got niggas in their family. They see niggas on the street, right? They like, they're the most educated in their family. Okay. And a lot of times they're the smartest person in that space. But once they step out of that space and then they go into other spaces, they're no longer the smartest person in the room. And I there was certain things that I kind of picked up on, like one in particular when she was talking about the what she wanted to say was that the percentage of the black men that are married versus the percentage of black women that are married are statistically insignificant. That was the phrase that she was looking for, but she couldn't find it. So she started like making up like terms that sounded similar but weren't it. And I'm like, something being statistically insignificant, like that's a common phrase. I'm just saying, if you deal in research, it's a common phrase. It's not something that you should be fumbling over. But anyway, by her own admission, there was data or statistics that she didn't know or wasn't aware about. And I'm like, well, you didn't come prepared to the conversation then. You got to know your shit. You cannot just suck your finger and hold it to the wind and then claim yourself to be any sort of, professional. Yeah, you have a degree, you went to school, you might have had a few good jobs, but that does not qualify you for this conversation. I'm not even saying I'm the most qualified person for the conversation. If I get in a room with Dr. T. Curry or Dr. T. Hassan Johnson, I'll say a few things, but for the most part, I'm gonna be listening because there's areas of expertise that they have in the area. That they got things on the top of their brain, top of their head that I don't have. I don't know what my skill set is in this conversation. I don't know. Maybe what people call it, um, intuition, whatever. Like I hate intuition. I hate intuition. I hate when people throw around, oh, it's women's intuition and shit. I don't know. Like I got that shit. I don't know. People tell me, oh, you got that shit. I have a high EQ, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Um, but I don't run around touting like that qualifies me to speak on to speak beyond the people who actually are the experts. Now, I will say that I have a problem with a lot of the black experts because I feel a lot of them have been compromised, like people in Congress. Like when you getting when you're trying to get tenured and you're paymaster or you're white overlords and they only want to hear certain research and so you can't go up there and tell the truth because you're getting white dollars and you're compromised, even though you know better and you're highly intelligent, but you got to worry about, the university overlords. I've learned to look at some of those people with a grain of salt and not take them as seriously because of the feminization of academia and this sort of anti-black maleness that exists in this space where if you want to talk about black people, you can talk about black women and what black women are going through because black women are not a threat. And we can talk about black women getting support and help and assistance and everything else. But you start talking about black males, and then all of a sudden, everybody's turned off. The money dries up, and all other shit. Okay, so Dr. T. Hassan Johnson and Dr. T. Curry, they've articulated that. Which reminds me, I got to go over to Torian Walker's page and watch. He dropped a new video and probably another interview with Dr. Tommy Curry, and I've been watching all their series. Like I'm telling you, like Dr. Curry, Dr. Curry, he be laying the shit out. He lays the shit out. I'm like, oh, this is so good. All of his Torian Walker interviews with Dr. Curry, it just mind blowing. But anyway, couple of things. Okay, eventually they got around to it, but like Taylor, she kept bringing up the weight thing. I know she's like into fitness and all that, and black women are single because they're too fat, which I think is a gross oversimplification. That's not even the main reason. I mean, even some of them, I saw like maybe one or two comments in the comment section of men being like, ain't really it. Are black women too big? Oh, fuck yeah, they're too big. Hell yeah, they're too big. And then you got the whole aspect of, well, women are not necessarily fat, but they're not fit. They don't work out. Like real talk, like I love Chescalay's face. But I remember years ago, Captain Solo, he sent me a picture of, I don't know, it was like her in a bathroom and, her body, and it wasn't happening. It was not happening. And that has to do with, not playing sports, not lifting weights, not exercising like that. The face, impeccable. I could look at her face all day, every day. But the body, the fitness, I'm like, nah, you gotta come with it. It's not just about not being fat. So, that it is an issue. The weight is an issue. Black women are the biggest women. It's an issue. But the primary issue, when it comes to the singleness of black women are the fact that there's too many mothers in the black community. That's the primary issue. And as I said before, with 42% of black mothers, having their first child under the age of 20, that means that a lot of the black women that you see, like, what, 8% under half, a lot of the black women that you see in the early 20s, they've already had a kid. We all know that, like, the stomach of a childless woman is totally different than the stomach of a woman that's a year postpartum. She still got the baby fat, all that. It's not the same thing. And I said before, how often when black men get to comparing black women to other races, or they're, just out and about and they're looking, how often are they looking at a black mother and then trying to compare that to a childless non-black woman, and then just sitting there going, oh, well, I think the non-black woman, she just looks better. No, she don't look better. You don't realize that you're looking at a mother with the body of a mother and the stress of a mother and the skin of a mother, right? And the bags underneath her eyes of a mother. When a woman has a newborn, or parents have a newborn, those parents, they got to feed that baby like every 2 hours and shit. You're not getting any sleep. As a pediatrician will tell you, and any mother knows exactly what I'm talking about when I say it, when the baby sleeps, mom sleeps. When the baby sleeps, mom sleeps. Because that's the only way mom's getting sleep. The baby is hungry. The baby needs to shit. Diapers change. The baby is not going to adjust their infant time or biological clock or time schedule to the mother's. No, the mother has to adapt. But anyway, I'm saying that right there is not something that black women are going to be able to get around. Okay? If a huge percentage of black mothers are becoming mothers, in their late teens and early 20s, then that means that there's a lot of black women that are on the market, that shouldn't be on the market. They should be off the market. But there's a lot of black women who are going to be on the market. And what you're looking at is, again, you're looking at baby fat. You're looking at stress. You're looking at, stomachs not being as tight. You're looking at not having time to go to the gym. Meanwhile, you got fucking Rebecca over there, sipping her Starbucks latte, and she gets to spend 3 hours at the gym. And hell yeah, she gonna look better. That's not even debatable. And this is one of the things that always gets swept underneath the rug and overlooked. There's a cost to having such a high percentage of black women, be mothers in the black community at such an early age. There's a cost to that. Attitudes can be changed. Weight can be changed. A woman can lose weight, but babies cannot be put back. And again, as I've said, you got something like 42% of black women who become mothers, 42% of mothers, 42% of mothers, not black women, 42% of mothers who become mothers under the age of 20. And then in that next cohort up, 20 to 24, I believe it's something like 34% of black women become mothers in that, of black mothers become mothers in that age range. Because remember, 61% of black women will become mothers, from 15 to 49. But it's kind of like a restaurant. Like if I was trying to take a tally of all the people that come into the restaurant, and then at the end of the day, somebody said, how many people have eaten at the restaurant? How many people ordered your lasagna, right? At the end of the day, I'm going to have the total numbers. But right now, it's only 12 o'clock. It's only noon. So I can only, so when you're looking at these snapshots, you're looking at, okay, well, how many mothers became mothers at under 20? Okay, how many mothers became mothers 20 to 24? Okay, how many mothers became mothers 25, to 30 or whatever, right? So I want you to understand what I'm saying here. Okay. When it comes to black men, you got 14% that become fathers under the age of 20. And then you got another 38% that become fathers between 20 and 24. So by the time young black men and young black women, by the time they get 25 years old, 77% of mothers, of women who are going to be mothers, you still got some women left over, the women who are going to have their babies in their 30s, okay? But 77% of black women have had at least one child by age 25. Where with black men, it's 52%. When you add the 14% plus the 38%, you get 52%. And so after 25, just think about like, because that's when we were, all online and everything else like that. Like when people first came online into these discussions, okay, in that age range between like 25 and 30, that's why there's a lot of bitching going on coming from the men and the arguments that we first came online with, which is you can't throw a rock without hitting a single mother in the black community. So I'm tired of the conversation about the singleness of black women reverting to, oh, it's because niggas was in jail. Oh, it's because black men don't commit. Oh, it's because black men cheat. Oh, it's because black men don't want to get married. Oh, it's because, all this other bullshit. No, it's because the women already have kids. And there's a lot more childless black men that they don't want to engage in ready-made families. When you got 61% of black women underneath the age of 50 who are mothers, and you only have 46% of black men under the age of 50 who are fathers. And again, the 61% is a higher percentage of a larger population number because the number of black fathers and the number of black mothers is not the same. It's not the same because you have less black men. So the gap between the 61% and the 46% is even bigger than just those two percentages. Those percentages are relative to what the total population, of black women or from 15 to 49 at least, what the total population of 15 to 49 is. And the same thing applies to the men. You have to understand that. Because one of the things that the woman as a social worker did, she was talking about how, even though she didn't use the term, how it's black men and black women getting married, the gap between the fact that black men are getting married more than black women is statistically insignificant. I totally agree with her with a caveat to that, right? Because she said, oh, it's basically statistically insignificant because it's only like a 7% difference. First off, you can't do math like that. You can't say that there's a 7% difference because you're dealing with two different populations. You can't just subtract the higher percentage from the lower percentage because I think it was black women because they actually went down in terms of how many were getting married, which is they're at 28.6%. And I think the black men were at like 34% and some change. Okay. And what I agree with her saying is, 1/3 of black people getting married is they're both shitty. Like that's shitty. You know what I mean? That if you have, 100 black men, only, 34% of them are getting married. And we're not. That's not even going into the divorces and the relationships that fail and the multi-partner family formation. That's not even going into all that. Okay, but yeah, both of them. That's a shitty report card. 28% of black women, actually get married, and then 34% of black men actually get married. That's a shitty report card. But the thing is that it's not about the idea that black men are kicking more ass than black women all over the place. No, it's about the fact that these numbers fly in the face of the narratives that black women try to push. It's like, yo, isn't this the pot calling the kettle black? Right? Black women come online and they fuss, black men, they don't marry us. These niggas, they don't want to get married. Whoa, 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 whoa. But black men do, a higher percentage of black men are married compared to black women. Granted, it's only a third of black people getting married. But I'm saying, with all the shit that you be talking, I'm like, their numbers are still higher than yours. Now, personally, I don't think I think it's the dumbest thing to even compare the black men and how many of them are getting married versus how many black women are getting married. Because first off, women have to sit around and wait to be asked to be married, and men do the proposing. So it should be expected that the men's numbers are going to be higher. I don't even think that's it shouldn't even be a point to be made. But the reason why, in my opinion, the men bring it up is because it's that pot calling the kettle black situation. What else? What else was in there in this video that stood out to me? So when they finally got on to the whole kids thing, they started talking about single moms and kids. Look, I done already said it a million times. There's more black women who are mothers than black men who are fathers. There's more black women who black women have more children than black men. It's hard to believe that you got more Erica Badu's out here than you do Futures. Even at the most extreme end of 4 children or more, black women have a higher percentage of 4 children or more than black men. I think black men, it was 7.2%, and for black women it was like 10 something, if I'm not mistaken. Right? Let me see if I can. I don't even know if I can go in there and let me see if I can pull this up. Hopefully my mic won't shut off. What was I looking for? Oh yeah. I was looking for, hold up, scroll up. Where was that percentage at? Yes, so hold on. Where is this at? So, no, I'm sorry. Black men is 7.1. 7.1. So again, I've said this before. So most black men have one child, 16.5. 15.2% of black men have 2 children. 7.2% of black men have 3 children. And 7.1% have 4 children. And 54% of black men at any given time, when taking a snapshot of the community, 15 to 49, have no children. However, when we go over to black women, 39% of black women, 15 to 49, have no children. 17.1% have 1 child. 21.4% have 2 children. 12.9% have 3 children. And 9.5%, not 10%, 9.5% have 4 or more children. all of those numbers are higher than black men in every category of number of children. Most black men have only one child, while most black women, 21.4, have two children. And this is one of the things that she said off of sucking her finger and holding it to the air. And she is accurate. She is true about that. That's 100% true. That most black women have one or two children. That is true. And most black men only have one. These scenarios of Future and he got 8 baby mamas and Shawty Low and NBA Youngboy and Country Wayne and all these individuals, that shit is rare. It's rare. It gets sensationalized, the Ayala Van Zants or Inyala, whatever her name is, and 50 women and 6 dudes, or what's another scenario? Remember Desmond Hatchett, the guy that had 33 kids over there, and I think it was in Memphis, Tennessee, had 33 kids, 11 baby mamas, and they couldn't even garnish his wages, right? So, again, the baby issue is primarily a black woman issue. And for a long time, that baby issue, the black men, they got all these kids out here and everything else, has been made to be a black male issue. When the majority of black men, you take a snapshot, the majority of black men at any given time in the black community do not have kids. Most black men, I believe, will have kids. Most black men will have kids. But again, you have to understand that as black men leave the childless category and become fathers, you got a new generation of young men on the come up, who don't have any kids until some of them become fathers. And then you have I think 20% or so that will just never have kids. You see? But this is about the snapshot. I got to explain this because people don't seem to understand this concept. When you take a snapshot, when you freeze frame the community, 54% of black men under the age of 50 don't have kids, while 61% of black women do, and only 39% of black women are childless. There are more childless men in the black community than there are childless women. Childless black women are the smallest demographic in the black community. The two largest demographics in the black community are mothers and childless men. And you wonder why we have a fucking gender war. That's your starting point. That's your baseline. That's before getting into attitudes, whether black men are economically viable, yada, yada, yada. Just start with the fact that there are too many mothers for the childless men. And the thing is black men are breaking that cultural norm, which was previously in the past, especially with the idea of where, there was still some sort of gainful employment around and the cost of living was much smaller. Men could absorb getting with a single mother. You think that young childless men can absorb getting with a single mother today in 2026? Rent is $2,000. Daycare is $2,000. That's not even a matter of being dusty. That's a matter of the cost of living is astronomical compared to the men of previous generations. Men of previous generations, they could go off and they could have multiple families, right? And be a Rolling Stone and all that shit. And have 2 ex-wives and they were paying for 2 ex-wives and then they had a third wife and still had money to spend. That doesn't exist anymore. You know, the woman, she brought up this whole thing about black women being celibate. You know what I mean? I'm like, I guess she got that from Ralph Banks and his book and whatever research he's on. I call bullshit. How is it that you got more babies than black men, but y'all the most celibate? Like, fuck out of here. Yeah, I'm sure y'all are celibate after you have the baby. After you have the baby, and then you run around the internet talking about how terrible your dating life is, and then you try to leave out the fact that you have a child. And why isn't the child the main reason why you're single? Why is it, you have women online, they'll be like, oh, it's because I'm dark skinned, colorism. I'm like, you have a 4-year-old, lady. You got a 4-year-old. You're going to go right to, oh, it's because I'm dark skinned. You being dark skinned damn sure wasn't the problem when you created the child. They go into all this bullshit as to why they're single. And again, this doesn't apply to childless women. What I'm saying applies to the women who are mothers. And I do not understand, for the love of Hotep, why, when we have these conversations about black relationships and why they're not working and why they're failing, it does not come up that we got a disproportionate amount of mothers in the dating market mixed in with childless men. And the childless men, they don't want to date some woman with kids long term. And I also think that that's a problem. All the, oh, I'm going to smash a baby mama because it's easy pussy because she lonely and she going to need some dick. I've heard that so many times. It's one of the reasons why a lot of these women are confused. When I came on the internet, the women were saying, what do you mean? So what if a woman has a kid? My mama was a single mom and she always has somebody. There's always somebody in the background saying some dumbass shit like that. Not recognizing, they was over there smashing the brakes off of your mom. But they wasn't trying to wife it up. They weren't trying to have that shit, the long-term relationship. They didn't want the liability. They didn't want to deal with your little snot-nosed ass. They didn't want to deal with that. Because there ain't no way that you're going to sit there and you're going to deal with a single mom long-term and not have to come up off some bread. That's impossible. It's impossible. Same thing with the, guys like to talk that shit about, oh, I'm only bringing McDonald's to my kid. I'm like, that child is innocent. That child is innocent. When you going to buy something for your kid for Christmas, but you're not going to get something for the other kid that his daddy ain't there and his daddy ain't do shit. You're just going to let that kid sit there and watch your child play with their toy and they ain't got no toys coming. Most men are not that heartless. But is it an irritation? Fuck yeah, it's an irritation. Yeah, it's an irritation. It's like, damn, God damn it. Yeah, that's why you don't need to be getting with single moms. You need to leave them the fuck alone so that you don't have to deal with that situation. Young boys, that's what I'm trying to tell you. Listen to Unc. I'm trying to tell you, leave it alone. Because most of y'all don't want and you can't handle the situation. I don't care how fat her ass is. Hitting that shit is going to get old. And you're going to create a permanent situation that you don't really want. What else? What else was in there? There was some other shit in there that, continue when they were, hold on. There was something else in there. Oh, when Taylor asked her about the whole thing with the single mothers and how much what's going on with them in the community. And I mean, the craziest shit is she literally said Veronique, she literally said in the video that just because a black woman can't get married doesn't mean that she doesn't still have a desire for having children, right? And then like Taylor, I don't know, she pushed back, and Veronique was like, "Oh, so I guess just black women they just want to be single mothers. They want to just go out here and be single mothers." It's like, chick, you literally just said that they prioritize having a baby over being married. You just said it. It came out of your own mouth. You just literally fucking said it. This is towards the end of the show. This is a 2-hour show. And I'm sitting there flabbergasted. I'm like, you just said it. And there was another woman in the comments section, and I left some comments in the comments section. You know, and the woman, she went into all niggas in jail and all this other shit, and they don't want to commit and all this. I'm like, what are you doing having a baby with a man that's not committing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What is with all this hypo agency shit? Then they went further into talking about, oh, well, black women, you know, they're not taught about sex, and they're only told what not to do, and they're not taught, like, what do you need to know about sex other than dick and pussy equals baby? What else do you need to know? Mind you, and this is black women who love to run around and brag about, we're the most educated. We the most educated. What do you need to know about dick and pussy equals baby? You know, like, and then I don't know where did I see it? It was in one of the videos. It was either a comment or it was something that was said talking about women who, you know, they think that they're going to change the man's behavior. I think the Veronique said it in her video, or said it in this video. I think she said it somewhere in there. You know, about, you know, trying to keep a man. I mean, it was just a bunch of splaining and a bunch of babbling. A bunch of splaining and a bunch of babbling. Very little accountability, if at all. It's very frustrating to listen to. You know, like again, going back to that, you know, Inyala, Van Zants, and the 50 men and 6 dudes. It's like, why do we have this conversation? Oh, we need to talk to the men's. We need to talk. I got 50 fucking women up here. Why do you want me to talk to 6 dudes? You know, and it really comes off like, oh, what we want is we want the men that we didn't get with, the men that are undesirable. We want them to check the men that we found to be desirable and we procreated with. I'm like, that's not going to happen. I think I have the answer on why, why people just go immediately to blame. Like, if they see 50 women and 86 kids, I think that's what the episode had, and there's 6 dudes, they immediately go to, oh, you men, all these men are dogs, and it's all their fault and all that other bullshit, right? They immediately go to that because everybody assumes that the number of fathers and number of mothers in the black community is 1-to-1. And I've said that numerous times, but that's an extremely important point. They all assume that the number is 1-to-1, that for every mother out here, you got a father. And that's not the case. I mean, I think one of those guys had like 10 children on the Inyala Van Zant's, episode, with them 50 women up there. Right? And see, that's part of the problem, because like when people will say, oh, well, black men don't take care of their kids, ignoring the fact that at any given time, 54% of black men don't have any kids. Right? But they'll say, oh, black men don't take care of their kids because all it takes is one rogue male to go out there and have a bunch of kids. Future got 8 kids or whatever. So that's going to be 8 testimonies of kids saying that their father wasn't always around. Versus if I go out there and have a child, or if Captain Solo goes out there and has a child, we can have 1 or 2 right? But most people only have, they have less than two children, right? So, I mean, obviously we can't have half a person, but so most people are going to have one or two children, right? But if you got Dirty Dick Darren out there and he's out there and he's got like Mr. Desmond Hatchett, he's got 33 kids, that's going to be 33 testimonials about my dad wasn't in my life. Meanwhile, the one kid or two kids and the one kid that Captain Solo, hypothetically has in this scenario, that's only three testimonials. So there's going to be 33 kids out there saying my dad wasn't in my life versus fucking our three kids between the hypothetical scenario of Captain Solo and I having kids. Right? So that's 10 times the narrative of my dad wasn't there that gets put out there into the world because of Dirty Dick Darren. And so when that goes out there, you end up with this scenario where everybody's like, oh, these black men, they don't take care of their kids. Meanwhile, again, I'm with my kids, Cap's with his kids, right, in this hypothetical scenario. But it don't matter because whoever has the most kids, that's the narrative that gets amplified out there. And there ain't shit I can do about that. If these type of men are the men that women want, there ain't a fucking thing I can do about that. If black women find those men to be the most desirable for whatever reason, whatever they got going on, usually the type of personality that is outgoing and charismatic and just has game and all that stuff, that attracts a lot of women. A lot of women find that attractive. And there's a lot of women who are consciously and subconsciously attracted to men who can attract a lot of women. I'm not saying women actively go out there and look for it, but it's just true. It's pre-selection bias. Women will complain, oh, the man's a cheater and everything, but don't no woman want no man that women don't want. Y'all women need to stop lying about that. Men will tell you. Men experience this shit all the time. When they're single like a dollar bill, no woman wants him. The woman's like, oh, he's not attractive. You know what I mean? You'll sit there and you'll be single and you make a friend out of a female. And another woman sees you talking to her and you were interested in her, but she really didn't pay you any mind until she saw you talking to that other chick. I mean, that has happened to me on more than one occasion. The Mexican chick that I tell y'all about, the one that I dated, back in the day, she friend zoned the fuck out of me. And I had a friend from back home, a Jewish girl, that I used to mess with. We were never a couple, but I used to mess with her, and we were friends and still cool and everything else like that. And she came through, and man, the Mexican did not like that. And like the next day was like our first kiss. And I was taken aback. I was like, hey, I thought I was friend zoned. I was still hoping, but she friend zoned the fuck out of me. But when she saw that I had other women orbiting my circle, oh, she was like, oh, hell no. Oh, I thought this motherfucker was single. I thought he ain't had nobody. And you mean to tell me he got girlfriends? Fuck that. Fuck that. And she, basically made it happen. So I, women can miss me with all this. Oh, men cheat. Oh, they cheated. Y'all can miss me with that shit. Most of y'all do not want men that other women do not find appealing. You just don't. What else was in there? There was something else that was in there that was just, a bunch of splaining. And that's what it was. It was just a bunch of splaining, a whole bunch of, she had Taylor asking a question. She just, either deflecting or changing the subject completely. Talking about black women have better networks and friends as they get older and all this other shit. Like, yeah, none of that matters. None of that matters to this conversation. Aside from the fact that men don't want to deal with fake and phony people and fake and phony interactions and shit. And y'all women doing all your little cat fighting and shit like that. You give a man a plot of land in a fucking cabin in the middle of the woods or whatever, and most men are comfortable with that. I might use, I was going to use it for a different video, but I might use the thumbnail, for this video because I was showing, the ideal bachelor pad. Just like on a minimalist level, on a I'm out of the dating market, don't care, on a minimalist level, what men are content with. So again, thinking like all women are always trying to make these comparisons between women and what they feel is like an ideal situation and what men think is an ideal situation. It's two different things. Men don't want to be bothered. They don't want to be bothered. Everything always has a cost to it. There's always some cost to it. And that's what y'all don't understand. There's more men that exercise discipline more than, women are sexually responsible because men understand the immediate cost of what it means that, that the woman had a baby. The burden of responsibility is on us as men. And men who don't want to deal with that, they make a conscious effort and a conscious decision not to go out there and get a woman pregnant. Which is why, even at 25 years old, 77% of the black women who are ever going to be mothers are already mothers, where when it comes to black men, only 52%, are fathers at that point. And then the rest of black men, they become fathers, in their 30s after they establish themselves, get their careers started and all that other good stuff. The other thing that was somewhat irritating is, again, like, I know this woman's type of personality. She got her husband grabbing stuff for her. Oh, could you get my book, beloved? All that, whatever. Anyway, I'm saying, like the feminist energy came out when we started talking about, or they started talking about money in marriage and all that, and how women, they no longer have to negotiate their survival with a man, and so they're making their own money, and they're good, and that's what they're doing. And the thing is what women really overlook is the fact that, number one, y'all make it sound like there was nothing that women ever even liked about being with the men that they were with in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. That the only reason women were with those men was because of economic survival. like, may that type of love never find me. Like, that's how I feel about this shit. May that type of love never find me. Okay, because it's like, okay, well, it's like, it just sounds like you don't even like men, or you don't even like black men. And then when you throw in the fact that, like, a lot of black men gravitate towards thugs and Ray Ray and Pookie and everything else like that, and EL's got, like a shitty reputation in terms of thirst and desirability, like, it doesn't really give you anywhere to really go as black women. Because the black men that aren't in that category of black men that they know a lot of black women like, and then you're running around saying, well, the only reason grandma was with grandpa is because she was dependent on him, right? And he was controlling her and all this other stuff. At that point, then it's like, hey, I don't want any parts, because I know you don't jump up and down because I'm a square, and you're saying that grandma was oppressed and the only reason she was with grandpa is like, you start hearing that, you're like, hey man, let me just go over the fence. Let me go over the fence because again, that whole the degree of thug that is necessary doesn't exist in other communities like that. That's one aspect. That's one factor. Then you have this whole like this tug of war with the patriarchy where black women suck all the oxygen out of the room and y'all don't want to give any acknowledgement, any praise, any accolades, reward, respect, none of that shit because you don't like the fact that it reinforces hierarchies. And because you've read Bell Hooks 25 times, you don't want there to be any hierarchies. But you miss the fact that like, or miss the part when it comes to men, it's like, well, why would a man want to be with you? You know, like I like what Taylor said. She got a video where she's like, your type has a type. Let me say that again. Your type has a type. And it's like you all you're doing is like focusing on what you want out of a man, but you don't ever question what he wants. You just assume that you're just it. And if you're not, then you start getting into all this bitching and crying and moaning and complaining and trying to shame him into seeing the value in you without you being what he wants. You know, like y'all just you don't consider, you don't care because it's part of patriarchy and your goal was to become financially independent and be autonomous of a man. Well, congratulations. Mission accomplished. That's what you did. But from the perspective of a man, all he sees, and especially the type of men that y'all say that y'all want, all he sees is a woman that's going to buck his authority. Y'all steady wanting men to be responsible, devoid of leadership. Y'all steady doing that. You know, like y'all don't recognize how unappealing. You know, and then there's like any combination of these the major issues, matriarchal mindset, overweight, you know, she's got a kid, bad attitudes, right? And then, you know, the sort of feminist ideology where you want to stand toe to toe with a man. Ebony K. Williams already pointed out and already said, you know, and I gotta give Ebony K. Williams credit, right? Even though I don't agree with the route that she went, but she owned it. She owned it. You know, she's like, hey, they're not looking for a peer. And I got a whole bunch going on. And the way the legal system is set up, and I see what men go through, you know, she didn't technically say that, but that is the reality, right? When she talked about Mary J. Blige having to pay her husband and talked about Halle Berry having to pay her husband. And she's like, no, I worked hard for what I got. I'm not risking giving it up by going out there and dating a less successful man who can come through and just take what the fuck I got and take the equity out of my home and say, well, we were together for 3 years. And the property value went up in the 3 years that I was there, so I deserve half of that. She don't want to deal with that. And I don't blame her for not wanting to deal with that. The marriage laws are fucked up. Right? You know, but again, she also acknowledged that the high caliber men, you know, they don't want a peer. Okay? And she's not going to diminish herself. So she went the route of single mother by choice. That's what she did. Now, do I think that's selfish? Hell yeah. Because that her daughter doesn't get to experience, you know, a father in the home, a two-parent home. You know, this is where women, you know, they it's all about what they want. Where men will just say, hey man, I'm not going to have any kids because I'm not going to bring a child into that. Women, on the other hand, think that their experience or their ability to experience motherhood is more important than what the child is going to experience in a broken home. That's, again, another reason why y'all catch hell as single mothers. Because a lot of y'all went off and made unilateral decisions and had the baby and decided to keep the baby because you just wanted a baby. It's not that complicated. But see, what ends up happening is after, again, being a single mother, some of y'all think it's empowering, and then you get up, in your 30s and whatnot, and then realize how not cute it is. And then you start trying to rationalize and come up with all these explanations as to why you a single mother, and you start making all these generalities about, oh, niggas in jail and black men in general do this and yada, 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 when you had the baby because you were either being reckless and sexually irresponsible or you just wanted a baby. You know what I mean? All these sort of things that would make you look bad. And so because women aren't going to do anything that make them look bad, they get on the mic and they go, black men bad, okay? Black men bad. And black men, we're tired of that shit. Not to mention the fact, again, you know what I mean? Like you all are talking all this shit, and I'm like, sorry, we got receipts over here that the majority of us don't have any kids. We don't have any kids. You all have more parents on your side than we have on our side. You know what I mean? And everybody just continues to run. I mean, these narratives of black men and they got kids all over the place, and black men are the cause of the single mothers in the black community. That's what it is. It's all these black men, because every black man ain't shit and is a deadbeat dad. Running with these fucking narratives. And the facts, don't match with the narrative. But because it would make black women look bad if we actually, recognize the actual numbers and the disparities between the number of fathers and mothers in the black community, that conversation is avoided. I mean, I don't know how many times I see these black women that come online and I'm like, here it is, CDC, go check it out. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. They don't want to believe, because they want to desperately, and I mean desperately, cling on to these fucking tired ass narratives of Glocktavius Jones, who has freaking 5 baby mamas and 16 kids. They want to desperately cling on that. But even that, they don't realize how that makes them look goofy. How are black men to value and elevate black women above all other races of women when you have black women who go out here and they get pregnant by the fucking lowest denominator of or quality of black man in the fucking black community, right? And then again, in conjunction with that, you have the black, all those black sons that grow up having memories of their mothers getting dicked down by a man that they're not biologically related to, because since black women have all these kids so goddamn early, okay, they end up back in the dating market. And so while, little Tafiq is freaking, 5 years old or 6 years old, his 25-year-old mother is out there, going to the parties, going to the club. He getting dropped off at his grandmother's. You know what I mean? He sees a man that she's talking to, maybe plays with him a little bit. You know what I mean? But then, that only lasts about 8 months, and then he never sees that man again, type shit. Right? How does that affect how black men pedestalize black women? How does it affect them? Right? You know what I'm saying? You got the Arab dudes running around with their moms all covered up in the hijab. They don't know nothing about any other man other than their father being up in their mother. Oh, you can elevate women to the highest regard, with some shit like that. You should run around and feel guilty engaging in premarital sex, turning women into whores when your mother is not a whore because she's only been with your father. You got to uphold that. You got to play that fucking game, which is why you see some Arab dudes, they go to Miami and start dating the Latinas because they look Arab and then don't marry them. And there's a bunch of Latina women that have been making videos talking about that. Watch out for these Arab dudes because these Arab dudes, yeah, they don't shit in their own community, but they always come home. They always come home and marry their first cousin. Side eye. But it's like, nah, man, it's black women are determined to do whatever the fuck they want to do. They're determined to come up with whatever fucking excuses that they think that they can grab on and cling on to continue to do whatever the fuck they want to do. And they want to constantly be perpetual victims in these conversations instead of owning what the fuck they're doing and then telling the next generation of women, yo, don't be on this bullshit. Don't be on this bullshit. Get off of it because it didn't work out for me. And I think at this point, like, what black women do not understand is black men as a collective. And I don't want to be overzealous and, or overstating, what I'm about to say, but black men, from what I've seen, are very apathetic. They're very apathetic. And I'm seeing this even from the younger black men. They're very apathetic. They're just like, man, I don't even care no more. I don't even care. They're starting to just, it's that wall of silence. They're starting to just write sisters off. And it's easy to write them off, especially when, you got a woman, she's overweight, so you're not attracted to her. You got a woman that, has a kid. It's so easy to write black women off when, she's not, what you want. She's not, Miracle Watts. She's not Bria Miles. You know what I mean? It's so easy. She's not Uchamba. It's so easy to just, please, man, please. I ain't even thinking about that. Because the damage is already done. Either you have a woman that's not willing to change, or you have a woman that has done things that are so irreversible, right? That you can't, you can't do anything with it. Unless you're going to compromise yourself and walk into a ready-made family in a situation that you didn't create. And then deal with the consequences of that, the potentiality of, you can't discipline my kids. Or my favorite, you ain't my daddy. Right? There's all type of situation. Or the inevitable the baby daddy suddenly comes back into the woman's life. Did you see the video of the guy who he was checking the woman because he came home and her baby daddy was in his house. He's been raising the kids, and it was something like he playing his PS5 or something like that. Something like that. It was a black guy, looking like who did he look like? He looked like who was that big black WWF or WWE? What was his name? Damn. What did he play? Like John Henry or something like that? Who was the guy? He kind of looked like him, but like not as big, but in that same vein. And the woman, she's sitting there with her bonnet on and just kind of like with her arms folded. It's like, that's why, nigga, you don't need to date these single moms. Because it's messy. And again, if you haven't fucked up, and I get it. Everybody ain't on the same level. Everybody don't have money and all this other shit. So, they can't, it's like, you'll come across, yes, there are single moms out there that are bad bitches. And maybe that single mom is the baddest bitch you ever had. But I'm telling you, don't do it. It's not worth it. It's a thankless job. And it needs to get to a point where black women fear becoming a single mother. They need to fear it. I'm sorry, but they do. They need to fear it. They need to give a fuck about what childless men gotta say. Cause Cap, he brought this shit up because there was a woman he was talking to, and this woman actually fixed her face to say that even though she's a single mother, she felt that she was entitled to childless men. And that really set Cap off. He got set off. And then he broke it down and he was like, hold on, make sure I got enough time. He broke it down. He was like, nah, the real talk, he's like, a lot of these black men online are frustrated at the fact that, yeah, y'all don't recognize childless black men like that. Y'all don't fear, you don't have the fear of God in you when it comes to pregnancy. Other races of women do. Now there may be some factors, as it pertains to that. Whether it's black men's global positioning or black men, the condition of the community, there could be some factors to that. I'm not going to say that there aren't. But a lot of black men are not going to sit around and waste their time and go back and forth about that. Childless men, should catch a premium in the black community. But again, if there are, this goes back to another point that Captain Solo made. It's like, if clearly childless men are not rare because black women act like they're not rare. Black women act like, childless men, oh, please, that's a dime a dozen. That's a dime a dozen. You see, but again, the rarest population in the black community are childless black women. When a black man comes across a childless black woman, man, nigga, you better act right. You can't just be out here dismissing because you ain't gonna find it like that. You are not gonna find it like that. So you better act right. I'm just telling you. There ain't scores and scores. This is part of the reason why you end up with a lot of brothers going over the fence. Because black men are not going over the fence to get with single moms over the fence. They're going over the fence to get with childless women. And there's a lot more of them over the fence. I was surprised when I pull up the numbers and, it came to Hispanic women, right? Hispanic total population is like 66 million. There's about 33 million, Latinas. Meanwhile, there's only 22 million black women. So, and then when you do all the math and whatnot, it's like, what was it? How many less? So it was like 1.5 million more childless black men than childless black women, but there were about 2 million more childless Latinas than childless black women, even though the Latinas, they have a higher, total fertility rate. Not only a higher total fertility rate, they have a higher 1%. They have a higher percentage of women in the Latina community that are mothers. But when you got a population of 10 more million Latinas, that's where 10 more million Latinas than black women, that's where, the rubber meets the road in terms of, just adding that to your pool. And I feel like that's what a lot of black men do. It's not just a matter of just removing black women from the dating pool. They also, they supplement some of these other races into their pool of black women that they're going to date. Because if they didn't, it's like the population of childless women is not that high. It is not that high. And then you got to weed out all of because again, all those people in the childless category, both male and female, are not the most desirable people. There's desirable people in there. Don't get that twisted. There's desirable people in there. There's people in there who will eventually become parents and then be replaced by another younger childless person, right? Because all this is in flux, right? But what was I about to say? There was something I was about to say about the childless women. Damn, I just lost my train of thought. I forget what I was going to say, but I'm just saying, adding those other women in there staves off, the starvation, when you're preoccupied because you're over the fence. Then you come back to the black community. Then you date a sister, And if that doesn't work out, then you go back out of the community and, you date over the fence or whatever. But generally speaking, you're dealing with childless women. Because, seriously speaking, you have, with the percentage of, with 54% of black men being childless, and then you got 39% of black women being childless, and you have more childless black men than childless black women. I think it's like 1.5 million more childless black men than childless black women. If I can recall, what the numbers I calculated in the book. So even though black women have a higher population than black men, there's still more childless black men than childless black women. Even when, you say, well, they don't have a bigger population, so that 39% might be bigger than the men's 54%. It's not. It's not, because I did the math. We really got to get past this talking about the singleness of black women without even remotely bringing up how many women are already mothers and are in the dating market and are trying to date. And we see this with the Pop the Balloon show, right? How many times do we see, people got to extract out of people, you got any kids? Yeah, I have two. Oh, you got two? Okay. Do you have any kids? Yeah, I got two. All by the same men. Notice that. Notice how the black men, it's a scary question, man. It's a scary question. Notice how our community is so fucked up that black men on Pop the Balloon gotta ask the black women whether they have kids by the same man. It's like there's layers to the shit. Even on the episode with Taylor, one of the guys was like, I can see if it's one or two, but if you got 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, I'm like, nigga, I'm already done at the one. I'm already done at the one. But again, you got there's still men out there, typically of the older generation, Gen Xers and whatnot, that are, they'll date a woman. And I guess especially with the Gen Xers, when you're in your 50s, everybody's going to have kids. So if you're still out there dating or you're divorced, because people do still date, after divorce. They do still date. But that's a whole nother category of being realistic and everything else once you get past a certain age. People's got grandkids. Oh, why am I hiccuping? People got grandkids and shit like that. That's to be, there becomes a point where you're out of the youthful, dating market. Which is pretty much where I am. But what else was I about to say about the whole dating? We just gotta stop having these conversations like you don't have a whole bunch of women that are back out here on the dating market, because they are, and that is, one of the primary reasons why a lot of black men are like, no, they already got kids. 42% under the age of 20 becoming, of the women who are going to become mothers out of that 61%, 42% under 20. Like, your mind's not even developed, and you're already pushing out babies. You're already pushing out babies with your next cohort up, 20 to 24-year-old boyfriends, and they don't have their shit together. Those relationships are going to be volatile because he doesn't have his shit together. You still live with your peoples. He still live with his peoples and whatnot. Y'all start arguing and whatnot. You're not really thinking about, life and what it means, the implications. I'll tell you the thought process that will make a man stop dead in his tracks getting a girl pregnant. Just think about if you have a child, that your child is going to want a car on their 17th birthday or 16th birthday. I don't know. I don't know what the driver's license. It used to be different when I was younger. Different states had different ages. But yeah, they're going to want a car. You know what I mean? Are you going to be able to cover that? Are you going to be able to provide that? I mean, as a father, right? Are you going to be able to do that? There's all type of shit that you got to pay for. And again, it doesn't even matter what your woman wants. Do you want to have to look your child in the face and say, no, I can't get you that because I can't afford it? I don't want to have to say that. I'm not saying I'm going to spoil my kid, but I'm saying I don't want to have to say the things that they actually need, like transportation, that I can't get that. That's just me. To each his own. I know there's going to be guys that jump up and what I just said made them feel bad about themselves, and they're going to be like, oh, Pete, here you go with your boozy ass shit. Oh, nigga, ain't nobody got to buy nobody a car. I don't have time for that. If that's how you feel, all I can say is I'm glad I'm not your kid. That's all I can say. I'm glad I'm not your kid. So, we gotta, the narrative needs to change, which I know that's not happening anytime soon. The narrative needs to change, and, we got to stop this talking about women in the dating market who already have children. They already have children, and they had them when they were young, and now they're back on the dating market. And I'm like, are you really trying to slam childless men for not dating these women? And if you want to make arguments about, oh, this black man did this to me and he got me pregnant and he abandoned me with this kid or these kids, I'm like, I feel you, but aside from you also equally participating in that, childless men don't have anything to do with that. They don't. And that's a tough pill to swallow. They want to just make this sort of generic complaint to all black men and whatnot. It's kind of the same thing that you see with the tethers that try to vicariously criticize their own African men, but through African American men, since we actually have these open dialogues. Right? It's real sneaky. Right? And so, what was I about to say? I remember, a lot of these women will do the same thing when it comes to childless men. They'll try to use shaming language, sign language, and all that against childless men. And I'm like, what do they have to do with whatever went down between you and your baby daddy? What do they have to do with that? Nothing. They just don't like the criticism coming from childless men. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, but you're going to hear that. You're going to hear that. A man that has been exercising discipline his entire life, and he files the grievance. He's like, man, hey, what the fuck, man? Why do all these women have kids? No, sorry, ladies, but you're going to have to hear that. especially when it's the majority of black men that are childless at any given time in the black community. It's the majority of black men are childless, while the majority of black women are mothers. Oh no, you're going to hear some goddamn complaints. And you just going to have to take it. They have every right to file a complaint. It's like, damn, what the hell? And this is the whole problem. This is the whole, what happened, the community breaks down. Because clearly what the women are being taught is not the same as what the men are being taught. And mind you, it's the women who are doing a majority of the teaching, be it the fact that the majority of black men and women are being raised by black women, not black men. And I could go and get into all more technical stuff like, the fact that when it comes to black men and those that go to college, there's a disproportionate amount of black men that go to college that come from two-parent homes versus black women who seemingly can make it to college and come from broken homes and come from single-parent homes. There seems to be a whole support system apparatus, behind, girls in the inner city, but not behind the boys. And this is something that, I think I added this to the book, on the update, that I have planned. I added this to the book about the whole thing with colleges, because there's more the black men that you see in college. And this is where you get into some real class differences. And I talked about this before. When you get to college and, a lot of those young black men that you're seeing on these college campuses, they come from two-parent, middle-class homes. And then when you got Keisha and she's having to work co-op, or she just, just got there at the school or whatever, when she just got there at the school, that's when oh man, that's when the hell, that's when that there is a problem, because there's going to be some class differences between her, and there's going to be class differences between the guy that she may be interested in, who she's looking at, and she's saying to herself, well, he's educated just like me. How come we're not a perfect fit? Well, he's coming from a two-parent home, and you're coming from a single-parent home. And again, I'm only bringing this up because these are the people that end up, going to college and being in college. And again, a lot of these black women that are college educated or college bound, they gloss over this because the rhetoric and the conversation seems to be that, well, I'm an educated black woman and I'm just going to add black men to what the hell I got going on, with no consideration of, what black men want. Black men just end up being accessories. We just end up being accessories to her life, her situation, and that's how they treat it. And do black men like being treated like that? No. Black men do not like being treated like that. The whole idea of the woman is not molding herself to us. Instead, the idea is that we are to mold ourselves to her, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of black men get turned off. One of the reasons, especially when dealing with these, highly educated black women. It's one of the reasons. But anyway, let me end this video because my battery is dying. That's what I was looking at. Because I don't want this thing to shut off while in the middle of talking to y'all. So anyway, that's all I got for y'all. That's my video. SWP out. Don't forget to comment, share, like, and subscribe.
On the scene, Diamond Blaney, whole screen, checkerboard, Louis V. I'm so fresh and simple and clean. Stuff them bands in my jeans, slap them 30s in them things, pull the trigger. sugar, let it sing. Then go smoke a Russian cream.
Boo, hold on.
Yeah.
Hello?
We ain't.
Where we at? Oh, you want to know where I'm at? We outside!